Blair Witch is the second sequel to the cultural phenomenon that was the Blair Witch Project, which had deep debates about whether it was real or not at the time, and sparked the craze of found footage horror films. In this one, which is also a found footage movie, the brother of Heather, the main character in the original, sees some creepy footage online of what is claimed to be the house in the woods in the original film, and a ghoulish woman appearing briefly in the video. For some reason, the guy decides that that must be his sister, alive after around 25 years, and decides to meet the person who uploaded the footage and go with some friends to the woods to find his sister. In many ways, just like with Prometheus and the original Alien, and a number of other quasi-remakes or late sequels, this film makes for an interesting contrast in the sense of what made the original so memorable and quietly creepy in its own way, and why this one doesn't work. It's just so bad on so many levels. It's not scary. The film cheats a lot. The dialogue is children's playground talk, and there's cliché after cliché, like idiotic imbeciles going off on their own for no reason whatsoever. It pretty much copies the beats of the original. It starts off with the characters discussing the Blair Witch myth, jokes and fun, noises in the night, creepy stick figures, getting lost, going around in circles, crew members going missing, and ending with the finding of the house. So there's nothing new really tackled in the film, no new ideas really explored. In the beginning of the film, the characters make a big deal about the drone they have, GPS and cameras attached to their heads, but the film doesn't utilize these things to add another dimension to the horror of found footage movies. There is a split-second shot of the witch herself if you want to see it, although don't get your hopes up because it looks more like an inflatable tube man or a giant stick figure. I think due to the negative reception, the writer of the film backtracked on this and said it wasn't actually the witch, but one of her victims. But this seems hard to believe because the figure, with the long arms and legs, matched the description of the original woman being left to die on a makeshift rack. It's quite boring doing this. Not the film itself, I mean. Don't get me wrong, the film is so boring that it had me looking at my watch despite only being an hour and a half long. Reviewing it is boring, because it's just a case of listing what is wrong with the vast majority of horror films these days. There's so many jump scares and fake outs in the film, it goes beyond being a parody, to the extent even a character says, "I wish everyone would stop doing that." And if a film goes quiet, and all of a sudden there's a loud noise and you react, that's not horror. That's a natural reaction. Like if someone clapped in front of your face and made you blink. Where's the tension, the atmosphere? The film is completely stripped of anything resembling a sense of dread or foreboding. There's no image that sticks with you long after the film is done, like the famous last shot of the first film. In fact, it's more funny than scary. I watched it with my other half, who is very easily scared and gets frightened at even the mildest of horror films, and she found this movie absolutely hilarious. The phrase laughably bad is overused, but this might be the first time a movie which was supposed to be terrifying actually made me laugh. There's one character, the same one who has a severe foot injury but is later able to climb trees and run like an Olympic sprinter, that screams in such a way it sent us into hysterics. And there's one part where the guy's tent flies up in the air and kamikazes like a rocket into the ground after the characters run away. It was like they were being chased by their own tent. And the movie was just a repetition of what was that? What was that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that branch snap? Did you hear that? The witch was so shit at sneaking around at night. She's hit every single branch on the floor. And not to mention every 5 minutes, Lisa, James, Ashley, Talia, James, Ashley, Lisa, James. And what is it with the witch ripping up tents and chopping down trees? It takes away from the mystique, the otherness of the witch. These superpowers make her come off as some kind of Spider-Man villain. How has this footage even been recovered? In universe, I mean. We see it all from each individual's cameras, but they all died and were taken. So did the witch herself edit this movie? We find out that the footage at the beginning of the film is actually what happens at the end. So what, did the witch mail it to the characters? And why did we see Heather's camera in the house at the end despite it having been recovered years ago? The last 10 minutes in the house were pretty intense, and the bit where one character gets stuck in a tunnel was the standout scene. But other than that, this film has little to offer. I give it a 3 out of 10.